time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and great to have you with us on this Thursday edition of the show, in which we'll be joined by our friend David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer. Thoughts with him on the World Series, also some of the managerial news that has broken in the last few days. We got a Thursday night NFL game to talk about as well with the Vikings and Chargers. But we start things out in the NBA and the news that rocked the NBA this morning, Sam Yarnell, and that is the gambling controversy. Two separate stories that don't seem to be connected yet, although it remains to be seen how that will play out. And that is Terry Rozier, that's been arrested, of the Miami Heat. Damon Jones, former NBA player. Chauncey Billups, head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, all caught up in this gambling controversy. In the cases of Rozier and Jones, it's related to, or in the case of Rozier, it's related to, whether or not he knew about prop bets and whether or not he took himself out of a game. $200,000 worth of bets placed on the game in which he pulled himself out of. This has been something that's been under investigation for a while. And the FBI swooped in today, made its arrest, like 31 people arrested. It's related to organized crime with La Cosa Nostra. I mean, this is crazy. This almost sounds like something out of a David Chase Sopranos episode. It's that kind of nuts, Sam. And on a day where we should be talking about Victor Wembanyama scoring 40 and lighting up the Mavericks like a Christmas tree, instead we're talking about something the NBA does not want us talking about.
Not at all. And you've got Stephen A. Smith going on ESPN minutes later saying this is the beginning of a political war between sports and politicians. And this is how it all starts. Yeah, overreaction central everywhere you turn. Listen, Jason, and it seems like it may have even been an overreaction, and I'm sorry to say some really bad police work by the FBI and by some federal investigative authorities that we have here in this country. You've already got lawyers for Terry Rozier coming out and essentially painting the picture for what it is. Like you said, these are two very, very separate cases. Yes. One is very big, the other is small potatoes. The small potatoes one is the one that Terry Rozier is involved in, and he was brought out and arrested with these other 30 some odd 30 some odd defendants, alleged defendants, I guess. As a perp walk, as a show, as something for the media to grab onto, which they certainly did and ran with it, understandably. Obviously, this all stems from this alleged poker ring that is tied to La Cosa Nostra and four of the 5 crime families in New York that Chauncey Billups was essentially a face card for. This is all very, very interesting, Jason Page, and it all stems from an investigation that started with Jonte Porter nearly 2 years ago. I can't even imagine where this is going to take everything, but I'll tell you this, it's going to definitely change the framework of the National Basketball Association.
How do you think it changes the framework, though? In what way? Because here's the thing, they're so deep now. It's all the mob stuff almost is apropos because they're so deep into it with these sports betting companies. You can't stuff the genie back into the bottle. So I'm trying to figure out, I don't know if you're the league, other than this scaring guys straight, that when you've got Kash Patel and the FBI and NYPD and everybody standing up in a press conference and you're perp walking Terry Rozier and you're arresting Chauncey Billups at 6 o'clock in the morning, the only thing I think the NBA probably hopes for, and they've cooperated in this investigation, it sounds like to me, is that it scares guys straight. And I think if you're Roger Goodell, I think if you're Rob Manfred, I think if you're Gary Bettman, I think you're thrilled. I think you're over the moon. One, that it wasn't your league. Two, that you've got a situation now where you can point to something and say to players, you want this to happen to you? I think it could have the effect of scaring guys straight. At least that's what some of these leagues have to hope for.
Listen, you have.
Am I being too optimistic?
You have former NBA players like Jay Williams sitting up on ESPN moments after this press conference saying, yeah, listen, I've been on these plane rides. I watched my teammates lose 200 grand on an hour-long plane ride. And, you know, we all know that there are things that happen in back rooms in Vegas where NBA players are sharing information with the books and trying to put wagers down and so on and so forth, or people connected to NBA players at least. I don't think to an extent that there's anything that changes that. And it's so unfortunate. I was thinking this in the moments before the show. It's so unfortunate that our friend Dave Sharapan isn't around. He would have been the first person that I would have called. And he told me in conversations that we had years ago when the Jonte Porter thing first came up, that there was so much more to it than I'd ever know. And I had no idea what he meant in the moment.
He would know.
But yeah, I mean, I wish so badly that I could talk to him about all of this, because it's crazy, Jason. It is not concrete evidence, but it seems to be the first steps down a path toward organized crime that has existed for decades and decades in this country, being connected to sports books profiting billions of dollars a year,
Sam,
off of Americans.
It's the combination of the old school with the old mafia and the Sopranos and all of this stuff that we've known about. I was just watching Goodfellas yesterday, which is the craziest part about this whole thing. I was just watching Goodfellas. It's the combination of that, along with the new technology of prop betting and all of this, you know, all of this stuff that's at our fingertips that we can get access to every day. And they asked me on MSNBC this morning, they said, hey, what's the solution? What do you do if you're the NBA? I said, short of banning prop betting, what are you going to do? I mean, and that's never going to happen, but what are you going to do if you're the NBA or if you're these sports betting companies that are in bed with the NBA and other sports? I don't see any way around it. And for every 3 guys they catch, Billups, which is not related to betting, but Porter, Jones, and Rozier, which sounds like a law firm, how many other guys are getting away with it, Sam? That's the other thing.
That's the question that nobody will ever be able to answer, because there's not enough proof in the world to be able to answer that question. Yep. But I'll say this with relation to like possible solutions, and I've said this for years on the show. You have to change the relationship with advertising in sports and sports gambling. That relationship cannot stay the same that it is. You also have to change limitations. We can't have these multimillionaires putting down hundreds of thousands of dollars on a side when we don't know where their information is coming from. Yeah. Limit sports wagering and limit the advertising that they're allowed to make.
It's a wild story. We'll have more on it tomorrow. We're coming back. All right, welcome back to the show. We've had to throw all our plans out the window for today because of the breaking news out of the NBA, where I was expecting to be talking about Victor Wembanyama's insane performance on opening night for the Spurs. Instead, we're talking about a gambling controversy that the NBA is embroiled in, and for that, we bring in our friend Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. If he looks familiar, it's because he was on yesterday. He joins us again today. Kurt, what was your reaction when you woke up and saw the news?
Stunned, really. I mean, look, they had been investigating Rozier. There had been other players had been tied to like illegal. Gilbert Arenas was arrested on a illegal poker scam thing. But like these 2 indictments kind of just came out of nowhere for most of us. We did not see this coming. I thought the Rozier thing had tapered off, frankly, from the league's perspective. And I thought it a little odd he didn't play last night, despite being healthy in a game they could have probably used him. But, you know, now I think we might know why.
Do we have a sense? I mean, the NBA obviously, it sounds like, was cooperating in this. The NBA had to know something was going on here. And I'm trying to find the silver lining in the cloud here. And maybe it's this, and I said it in the last segment with Sam, and I want to get your thoughts. Maybe this scares guys straight. Maybe this is premier example number 1, that not just the NBA, but all of these sports leagues can now say, you want to get perp walked? You want to have your life ruined? whether this stuff is true or not at this point. The mere appearance of impropriety involving these guys, their careers are over. It's done. It's a wrap. No pun intended. I have to wonder, Kurt, if there is a silver lining in this, it's that Gary Bettman, Rob Manfred, Adam Silver, Roger Goodell, they could all point to this and say, you don't want to be caught up in this.
Yeah, exactly. I think that honestly, all the leagues will use this as we'll call it a teaching moment, for lack of a better term off the top of my head. But it is absolutely something that, look, with the pervasiveness of gambling, this has been a concern around the league. The league has worked with its partners to try to get some prop bets taken down from, look, you can
prop bets are the problem. That to
Yeah.
me is the problem. And you're never going to put that genie back. But I just said it last segment, Kurt. The only way you stop this is to stop prop betting. And it's never going to happen. Yeah.
What the league is trying to do is move prop betting only on guys who can influence the game. You want to prop bet Wemby, go ahead. You're not going to be able to buy Wemby into this kind of scam.
Right.
But Terry Rozier, guys down the ladder, guys at the end of their career, they might be more susceptible to this. They've taken off a lot of them for like two-way guys, and the Jonte Porter thing, which was its whole this is loosely tied to that. I mean, same of the same people, but tied to that. That's what the league has tried to deal with. This is a much bigger thing.
MSNBC asked me a question this morning, and it was something that came up in the press conference where, all these law enforcement people were congratulating each other for basically a half hour. I mean, it really was. It really was. There's another word. There's another word for it that goes along with the word circle, but I won't say it because I don't want to lose all my affiliates. But it was a big circle. Let's just say, and to me, what I'm trying to figure out, one of the questions asked was about whether there's going to be more arrests, and I have a hard time thinking that other players didn't know about this, whether it was going on with Terry Rozier, what's been going on with other players, that they weren't in on the joke, that they didn't know that guys were sitting out. And if you're a party to that, doesn't that make you culpable in some way legally?
That's a good question. I look, there are a few questions I've got. Damon Jones, the former player, Cavs player and coach, is the crossover. He was involved on both indictments, according to the FBI and the Eastern District of New York DA, or federal indictment. Here's my question: Damon's been out of the league as a coach for a number of years. So where's he getting? Where is he providing inside info? Was he having casual texts with people and they were, unknowingly leading to some of the, there's just a lot of questions I've got about how that all came together. Obviously, Billups was not involved in the gaming, for people who don't know. He was simply kind of the face for an illegal poker scheme and to get people in. It's Rozier and Jones who are the betting on game situation.
But you could have players that are unknowingly involved in this. Oh, yeah. Because when you're talking about Damon Jones or coaches or something like this, having inside information about whether a player is going to play or not, and then carrying that themselves.
It's not even just play, right? It's, hey, this guy's got a nagging hamstring thing he's trying to play through. He's just not himself. I can bet his prop under. That kind of information could tip a game bet, but you also might just be able to tip prop bets and some of that kind of stuff more quickly. And again, I think that it is possible other people were involved. It's also possible these guys were getting information from guys who had no idea, and they were just having a text conversation with a former teammate,
You have look, gambling is so pervasive in sports beyond the legal stuff and fantasy. It's guys on airplanes, playing high stakes poker games or card games.
Oh, hooray. Yeah. It is the gambling and the volume of gambling between players is pretty good, but they all like their paydays, and they know this was a risk. For most of them, that was enough to scare them off.
But not enough to scare off apparently others. And what's going to keep coming up to me, Kurt, in all of this is who they caught. Yeah. For every one or two they catch, how many others are getting away with it? Because to me, it's where you get caught is when you're greedy. I always say, you can rob a bank once and probably get away with it. I'm not encouraging people to go do so, but if you rob a bank, you might get a few $100s, or go rob a 7-Eleven. You might get away with it once. When you start doing it multiple times and for larger amounts, that's when you get into trouble. How many guys could do this as a one-off and probably not get caught? And that's the whack-a-mole game that the NBA is going to be caught up in, and all these sports betting companies are going to be caught up in.
Yeah, and it's going to be ongoing because now you're going to have questions about this in look, and I don't want to, I hate bringing up his name, but like, you can't quiet the Tim Donaghy stuff to this day, even after all this. Now you can bet that this is literally going to be lingering over the league. And, you know, I guess the only person that might be happy is Steve Ballmer because he feels like he's less in the spotlight for a few days.
Oh, my God. I wanted to talk about Wemby, so that was one of the most insane performances, and I don't get to talk about it.
I, for one, welcome our new Wemby overlord.
Kurt Helin on short notice. I can't thank you enough. NBC Sports does a terrific job with pro basketball talk. Keep an eye on him. He's going to have a lot more as the story develops as well. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
We're back with more Sports Wrap, and David Aardsma joins us next. Welcome back to the show. Let's switch gears and talk some baseball. World Series Game 1 on Friday night between the Dodgers and Blue Jays. Series starts in Toronto. And if it's a Thursday on our show, that can only mean one thing. We're talking baseball with David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer. I got frozen when I said former big, and then I was like, I didn't even know what I was supposed to say. It's been a crazy day with this whole NBA story, which has just rocked us with the news about Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups. So let's calm things down a bit and talk about the World Series, David Aardsma. We had Cameron Maben on the show on Monday, Tuesday. You remember what day it was, Sam? Because I can't remember. I think it was Tuesday.
I think it was Tuesday.
Our friend Cameron Maben joined the show, and he's all in on the Dodgers winning this World Series. Do you feel the same?
I feel the same. Now again, I've been wrong basically about every single level of this outside of the Dodgers. I picked the Dodgers at the beginning of the season. I like along with everybody else. That's because they had the best roster, best pitching staff I've ever seen collected and put together. And you saw how they played against the Brewers. Incredible pitching. That starting pitching just shut down the Brewers. Brewers remind me a lot in a lot of ways like the Blue Jays without the big superstar power bats. But an offense that everybody hits 1 through 9, get guys on, create ways to get them in. The Dodgers just completely kind of slapped them in the face with that and just said, no, we're not going to do that. And struck people out, was able to get out of any big situation. You never saw them have to go to the bullpen, which is their weakest point. And you never saw the Blue Jays. I mean, yeah, I saw Savage and Bieber have their games. You even saw, Scherzer have a game, but there's time that rotation overall over the playoffs has not been that excellent. You've seen them have games. And so how is that rotation going to do anything different than they did against the Mariners, which is give up some runs? And then when are the Dodgers going to give up runs? That's what it comes down to. That offense, that Blue Jays offense, by far the best offense in baseball right now, like by far. But that pitching staff's going to damper that just enough to allow their bats to do just enough.
But is there an argument? If you're making the argument, and maybe it is getting into that Dodgers bullpen, which yes, clearly is the weakness of this team, the Achilles heel of this team, if there is one. If you're making an argument, if I say the Blue Jays will win if your answer is
they can get the starters out as fast as possible. Just get their pitch count up. Like that's one thing we know with Dave Roberts. Just get their pitch count up. It could be the 4th inning, could be the 5th inning. If they get them out before the 6th inning, the Blue Jays are going to be in a great position to win because they're that bat. They can handle that. They don't even need to score many runs off the starter. They just need to get the starters out of the game before the 6th inning. And if they can do that, get to that Dodgers bullpen continuously, they will win these games.
Sam, go
what's
ahead.
your score prediction, David? Obviously, we've all given ours. We've gotten them from all of our guests. How you said that you think the Dodgers win this series? How quickly?
I think 4-2. I do think there's going to be a couple games in there where the Blue Jays, that when you have an offense as good as the Blue Jays that don't strike out a ton. That's the thing. They're not striking out a lot. So they have the power without the strikeout. They will get theirs. And I wouldn't be surprised even if the Dodgers take this to a 7 or something like that. Or sorry, if the Blue Jays take it to a 7, because that offense has been so good 1 through 9. Every single guy in that lineup has been producing, and that's without a Bo Bichette in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took it that long. I just think there's so many weapons on that pitching staff that the Blue Jays can't match.
How tricky is the Bo Bichette situation for Schneider here with having to decide how much you play him, how much run you give him, considering it's been so long since he was out there? You know, if he's out there and for the first couple of games doesn't do anything, do you pull the plug on it? I mean, that's a touchy subject for a guy that's been as valuable to them as he was, especially in the second half of the season, David.
So at least the spot in the lineup where they're trying to figure this out is IKF, right? It's not like you're sitting there having to make a decision on Nathan Lukes or a Varsho or a Clement or something like that. These guys who were just swinging it. At least it's IKF, who's been very good at his job. So that's my you still make that switch, and I give him the whole leeway the whole way. Now, I don't know if I change him in the lineup. I keep him in that IKF spot, that whatever it was, 8, and run with there. I'm not going to move him up, or, higher up in the lineup and switch with that.
Sam, please ask something about Ohtani, since we haven't even mentioned him yet, and we're 5 minutes into the show.
Right, a little bit.
I'm actually not going to ask something about Shohei Ohtani, unfortunately. But David, a thing that I keep coming back to is it seems like there are a lot of people who believe that offensively, at least, we can throw pitching and defense out the window for just a second. This Blue Jays team was the best team to come out of the American League to challenge this Dodgers pitching staff. How do you feel about that? I don't know if I agree.
I do agree with it. From an American League standpoint, the Mariners, you saw they had 3 hitters and everybody else just collapsed. Everybody else. And you saw that because they got struck out. Just bad swings left and right. The Yankees weren't anywhere near this type of offense right now, and there wasn't really a whole lot of other contenders after that. So this is the best lineup to go against that. Again, they led the league in hits. OPS, they're top 2, top 3 all year long, let alone playoffs, what they've done on numbers across the board, and tied for most home runs, highest OPS, all that sort of stuff. So this is the best offense the Dodgers could be facing. And that's the only reason, again, why the Dodgers might lose this, because if that offense just starts rolling the way they were and not strike out, they're going to give it one heck of a run.
I listen, my heart says, as we get into predictions here, and you've already given us yours, David. My heart says Toronto. My head says the Dodgers. It's just, it's impossible for me. Oh, it's not going to be a sweep. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy, dude. What are the odds? Boys. By the way, what are the odds? God, I can't even believe I'm asking this with the news today that we're talking about. What are the odds on a sweep, Sam?
I'll pull it up, but I have to assume it is very short.
Yeah, I got to imagine it's like 700. It's got to be like 7-1, maybe. If I were guessing, 1,800. Really?
Plus 1,800. It's not that bad.
Wow. That's wow. 18-1 is a lot more than
I want to go shopping at the David Aardsma book. I just saw it for plus 550.
You see, where's Aardsma getting his information?
I'm going shopping at the David Aardsma book, and I'm betting it there because, hey, if you're booking it at 18-1, I'm taking that to the bank.
I'm taking that too.
Aardsma's the personal bookie, actually. You got to pay him if you lose. And he looks like he's coming for it if he beats you. He looks like he's coming for it. All right, that's the World Series. Gets underway on Friday. We got some managerial stuff to get to. We'll get David's thoughts on that next. Thanks for being with us. Coming up in 10 minutes, the Sports Wrap Panic Meter, Week 8 in the NFL. Getting ready to kick off on Thursday night. But back to baseball with David Aardsma, former big league reliever. By the way, you can hear him on MLB radio over on Sirius XM radio. I was driving around trying to find a McDonald's that was open so I can get a late night chicken McNuggets meal. and I was listening to David Aardsma doing the post-game recap on, I think it was Sunday night. I don't remember.
Sunday night.
Yeah, it was probably Sunday night. So you were doing
Game
the
6.
doing the recap with some nondescript co-host who I don't even know. I'm just saying I don't know who it was. It could have been anybody. No, that's all you got. You can't give me anything. You just.
I show up, go to work. I loved it. Game 6 to me, that whole series was crazy. So I was like for 2 hours getting to talk about it was pure.
You were on for 2 hours.
2 hours.
Oh, hey. All right. So let's talk about some of these managerial moves that are going on, David, and in particular, the move with Tony Vitello, which is the most recent of the two. We'll get to Kurt Suzuki in a second. Big risk, big reward. I mean, am I crazy to say that I think it goes one of two ways? Either it goes incredibly well or it goes up in flames horrifically when it comes to hiring a coach of a college team that has no major league experience. It feels like smartest guy in the room sort of stuff from Buster Posey here. What do you make of it?
I mean, if you're going to go for a college guy, he's who you go for. He's it. He's the pick. And so they're going to pay a pretty penny to get him, to bring him in, buy him out of that contract down to Tennessee. But if you're going to go big, he's the one. He's the loudest in the room, probably for sure. He's going to drive the girls crazy in San Francisco, without a doubt. Good looking guy, right? But that's a part of the gig. And the Giants have been trying to find a great looking manager for a couple of years now. But in all reality,
you mean Bruce Bochy doesn't get you excited? I mean, I don't know.
Kapler definitely was getting the guys going, girls going. Man, everyone loved Gabe Kapler, without a doubt.
All right, go move on.
But no, he was.
That was a good-looking fella.
Man.
A good-looking fella.
He's a good-looking man, but that's part of the gig, and that's part of it. You're the face now, and he's a manager that knows how to win, knows how to develop players, knows how to get an organization going, building a culture. Now, I got a couple problems with that. There's been issues at Tennessee with the culture itself, with the type of culture he built. Players flipping off other players as a round on bases, a kind of zero F's given environment, which could be a lot of fun for baseball. I'm into it. The problem is usually when you have some veterans around that don't like that, they push back hard. It's not just a soft pushback. It's a hard pushback. If he can manage that and calm himself down in some ways, perfect. My other problem is, and this is the biggest problem I have, you don't hire a college coach because they are control freaks. Absolute, uninhibited control. There is no way, especially when you get a young college coach, that he's going to give up control and walk and be kind of get walked over by the front office. That's the way he's going to look at it. He's going to feel handcuffed. He is not going to feel in the right place. When you get a great college coach that has made that transition, like we have with the Brewers right now, right? He had to leave college. He was forced to leave college. And then he went to the minors. Then he built his way up, built a whole different culture and personality to match the big leagues. That's my problem. If this is going to go in flames, it's because of him. And one thing I've always said, you hire the person for the best job they are ready for. And when you have control freaks, you give them control freak jobs. You don't take control freaks and say, by the way, we're going to tell you who the lineup is, who your players are, and what type of culture we're building.
It's impossible to micromanage a control freak, right? David, you said something there at the beginning of that was so interesting. The loudest manager in Major League Baseball. Completely agree. Couldn't agree with you more. But with your insight, right? You've been in a major league clubhouse. You know what it's like. You know what it takes. You've seen some of the great managers, right? What do you think the impact is going to be having a guy like Tony Vitello, who a lot of people considered, especially in SEC baseball circles, like a football coach, right? He would get in his players' faces. He would not be afraid to be very confrontational with his players. As a former major leaguer, what is that going to do to guys making sometimes tens of millions of dollars a year?
That's the problem, right? But with me, I would have liked it. I would have loved it because I earned the coach being in my face. That would have pissed me off that I didn't do my job. But there are a whole lot of guys I played with that would just push right back. and know they have the upper hand, and they can push back as hard as they want with their fists or whatever they want to push back with, because you can't get rid of their contracts. And we saw like very rarely do we ever get rid of a player because we don't like them, right? With Boston, they did that, and guess where he went? And they're going to get pushback, but baseball now is younger athletes, guys straight out of college, and they're going to like that feeling of it and that energy. It's just like, how strong can that flame last without pushback?
I only have 45 seconds here. Suzuki getting a 1-year deal, being tied to Minassian over there with the Angels. What did you make of it?
He's always been tied to him. GMs take the guys that they like and put them in the job. If I'm Kurt, I don't like a 1-year job. At the same time, I'm taking a chance on myself. I love the signing, but is he going to make any impact? Is this a long-term impact? If you're not hiring somebody for long-term, don't hire him.
Is it because Pujols? Do you think Pujols ultimately didn't go because they actually wanted to insist he get a 1-year deal?
That probably had a lot to do with it. At the same time, when you're the when you're like special assistant to the GM and the GM hires you, that probably had a lot to do with it.
David
you're there every day. Pujols isn't. Pujols should be a bench coach somewhere, but he can't be a bench coach in Anaheim right now.
And all I know is Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman are still running the Yankees. That's all I know.
So far.
I gotta go. We've got some football to get to. Thanks, David. We'll talk to you later.
Absolutely.
We're coming back with more Sports Wrap. Welcome back to the show. Thanks to David Aardsma for hanging out with us and talking some baseball. World Series and managerial moves. Coming up in 10 minutes, odds and ends on the Thursday night NFL game. But Sam Yarnell, if it's a Thursday on this show, well, it can only mean one thing. The Sports Wrap Panic Meter is back. Week 8 in the National Football League. And we bust out the panic meter in the DMV, as Sam would like to say. His old stomping grounds. Hello to our friends watching on Masson. You are not going to like the fact that you are in the spotlight for the Sports Wrap Panic Meter today. Sam Yarnell, in the panic meter, we have the Baltimore Ravens at 1-5, but hey, they're getting Lamar Jackson back. On a scale of 1 to 5, where are we putting the Baltimore Ravens on the panic meter?
I don't know, Jason. This is like one of the toughest ones in the NFL for me, and I know that everybody loves to talk about how the Baltimore Ravens, they're just waiting to get everybody back and they'll be fine. Listen, this defense just does not look the same. That being said, right, on this offense, outside of the missing Lamar Jackson piece, who even when was healthy didn't look great through the first 3 weeks of the season, I'll tell you, the running game isn't everything it was last year, right? Derrick Henry's a middle-of-the-road back in the NFL rushing-wise this year. He's not an all-star, all-pro. How is he still doing this at this age? It very much seems like there may be a wall that he finally hit after all of these years of sustained greatness. It just feels like, to me, the Ravens have become the unction to an extent. It's a word I've loved using on the show this week. So I'm going to go with a 4 for the Baltimore Ravens. I'll go with a 4 because there's a chance they can backdoor their way into the playoffs if they get really hot going in. And I'll tell you, if they get hot enough to get in the playoffs, they might be hot enough in the playoffs to make noise. But I don't know how confident I am in this team as a unit on the whole.
In a league of mediocrity, I'm going to go with a 3, and I know that sounds like I'm riding the fence, but the reason I am is simple. When I look at the Ravens right now, look at the schedule. Go and look at the schedule. They've got every opportunity. They could be 5-5 in 4 weeks if things break right. Why? They've got the Bears this week. They've got the Dolphins, and granted, it is 3 straight games on the road after the Bears in Baltimore this week. But they got the Dolphins, who have basically mailed it in on the season. Did you see what Tua Tagovailoa was saying? He couldn't see Jalen Waddle because he couldn't see over some of the defenders. The Vikings the week after that. We're going to talk about the Vikings later in the show, but is anybody riding high on J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz, and this Vikings team right now? Then it's the Browns, who, yes, got a win a week ago, but I mean, who knows? By then, it could be Shedeur Sanders starting at quarterback, or maybe Bailey Zappi. You never really know. And then it's the Jets after that. I mean, the next 5 games are all going to be winnable games for this team. So I don't think they've mailed it in on the season. I don't think we, in a league that is parity-ridden in the mid-NFL that we've been sort of talking about throughout the season, I don't know if we should mail it in on the Baltimore Ravens just yet. And for that reason, I have to go with the 3. And look, the best defense for that, Baltimore Ravens team might be their offense. It might just be having an offense that could stay on the field for more than a few plays and keep that defense off the field right now, Sam.
I'll just tell you that we'll do this because we're playing the schedule game, because after that Jets game, the schedule is brutal for them. It's Bengals, Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Packers, Steelers. Ugh.
Well, I mean, look, if you're 5-6, going into that matchup with the Steelers or something like that,
then you're still in the mix. And that's going to include wins over the Patriots and in Lambeau.
Well, let's see what they look like this week. Let's see what they look like with Lamar back this week. I think this will be a better question to be asked for next week. All right, let's talk about your Washington Commanders. Not yours, but you're from that area, so you know what's going on there.
I was also a resident Commanders guy on the show last year.
There you go. You were. Let's talk about the Washington Commanders and give me some thoughts on a Commanders team that is 3-4, that has lost their last 2, that will be without Jaden Daniels this week, no matter how much they tried to convince us that Jaden Daniels' injury wasn't very significant. Apparently it was, because Marcus Mariota gets the start this week for this Commanders team. But again, in a mid-league, do we overreact when we talk about the panic meter going up against a Chiefs team that's obviously playing a lot better? Where do you have the number, Sam?
Yeah, right. So I just keep coming back to this point, Jason. Everyone keeps talking about, this is going to be a painful one for the Commanders. I see all these Commanders fans talking about not going to the game, like Commanders fans with tickets to the game in Kansas City with travel plans, talking about selling their tickets. Ridiculous. It just feels like a spot to me where the Commanders could get in and get right in a spot, and it's one of those, it's one of those this year losses in the NFL. I don't know. I'm really falling in love with the Commanders plus 12.5 come this weekend, but we'll see. Or come Monday night, we'll see. I got a whole weekend to think about it. On the team as a whole, they're not as good as last year. I think anyone who came into this season thinking they were going to be is foolish. Last year was an anomaly to an extent. I'm not going to sit here and say last year was a flash in the pan, they're never going to be back. No, this was a management group and a new staff that came in with an objective, and year one, they got way out ahead of their skis. Not so far that they tumbled over themselves, but I think so far that the fan base and the NFL as a whole may have had loftier expectations. I'm going to go with a 2.
I'll actually go with you on the 2, by the way. And I'll say this too. Doesn't it feel a little bit like the Texans situation? Doesn't it feel a little bit like, you had the early success with Stroud, then it's sort of gone the other way? I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Odds and ends. We'll wrap it up next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. Don't forget on Friday, Tino Patino will be here, because if it's a Friday, it's a NASCAR Friday. Are they in Martinsville this week for NASCAR? As the playoffs continue, one race until the championship race in Phoenix. Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, will be here as well. He'll join us to talk about some of the top stories of the week. Something tells me this whole NBA story will make it into there as well, and probably something about Stephen A. Smith, because he just can't seem to keep himself out of the news for all the wrong reasons these days, so we'll get to that with him tomorrow as well, and the latest on this NBA gambling investigation as that continues to develop. All right, couple of reminders before we go. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. We're on all of them. Make sure to go and subscribe to that. 45 minutes right there for you Monday through Friday. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, which is all the rage. If you have not checked it out yet, make sure to go and do so. We've got the show there Monday through Friday. In fact, little pro tip, it's there before it's on TV. We're not supposed to tell you that because we want you to watch the show on television. But you can watch Sports Wrap with Jason Page early in the afternoon, Monday through Friday over on YouTube, commercial free. Also, you can watch Sports Wrap with Jason Page Shorts, Sports Wrap Shorts. Whenever news breaks, we are there to talk about it with you outside the windows of when we put the show together. We had Wemby coverage last night for his big 40-piece, which should have been the top story of the day today on the show, but instead we're talking about NBA players and coaches behaving badly. And without any further delay on this Thursday edition of Sports Wrap, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. We got ourselves a Thursday night NFL game to kick off Week 8 on Prime Video between the Vikings and the Chargers. Sam Yarnell. In light of all the NBA gambling news, it feels weird to sit here and talk about gambling, but we're going to talk about gambling. The Vikings plus 3.5. The Chargers, the total in this game, 44.5. Vikings plus 148 on the money line. The Chargers minus 178. The game in Los Angeles. What do you like, Sam Yarnell?
Yeah, I'd take the Chargers, and I'd probably take the under. Don't love either side. Haven't delved super deep into this game. I've actually been doing a ton of NBA stuff early in this season, but regardless, listen, the Minnesota Vikings are a bad football team right now. Let's not sugarcoat it because they're in a good division or whatever else you want to, because they've got a good receiver. They're a bad football team right now.
Bad?
So I'm going to bet against a bad football team right now. Not saying that the Chargers are a great football team right now, but I think they're better than the Vikings, especially by, it looks like there's some 2.5 still in the market. So depending on what book you're at, I would lay the Chargers with 2.5. Don't love it as much with 3.5, but if I really cared that much about a point, I shouldn't be betting on a team anyway.
Are the Vikings a bad football team? Or are they just part of that goulash that I like to talk about all the time?
Right now, they're a bad football team. Now, right now is a week-to-week thing, but right now, they are a bad football team. With all the J.J. McCarthy stuff going on, with all the potential that roster has, that's a bad football team right now.
All right, fair enough. Look, these Charger home games and these Ram home games for me, I can't get excited about them because they're not really home games. You know, the half that crowd will be wearing purple tonight. It'll be mostly Vikings crowd. That's just kind of where I am when I watch all this. So I'm not particularly passionate one way or another about this game tonight.
Yeah, right.
I'm really not.
Such a classic Thursday night football game.
It feels like we're settling. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like we're settling into the Thursday night schedule that we always expect at some point during the season. This kind of feels like we're sort of settling into that. So I'm trying to find something. I'm looking at like different wagers to potentially get excited about, but I can't really find anything that's getting me juiced up here. Justin Herbert, alt passing yards. Let's see here. Herbert plus. You know what? Herbert 300 yards plus 240. Kind of like that.
If you're begging to bet on the Chargers, I'll give you a real degenerate bet to make on the Chargers tonight. If you really want to bet on the Chargers, the way to attack them is through the rushing game, because guess what? Jim Harbaugh is going to want to run the football just about no matter what. And Omarion Hampton's down, and now so is Hassan Haskins. So I'll go Kamani Vidal over the 58.5 rushing yards. Yeah, you don't even know who Kamani Vidal is, do you?
Oh, you were talking to me? I got nothing. I got nothing on this game. My whole day has been rocked by this NBA story. My whole morning's just been destroyed by this NBA story. It really has. I rolled out of bed. First thing I see on my phone is this NBA gambling story. And, I said it at the top of the show, and I'll say it again. As we sit here and talk about player prop bets, the only way you're going to really do damage and make a dent in the illegal sports betting stuff is if you get rid of all prop bets. And that's never going to happen. Get rid of all the prop bets. You want to mitigate some of the risk involved in legalizing sports betting, get rid of all the prop bets, and that's never going to happen. That's where I am right now.
All right, well, I'm glad there's 15 seconds left in the show so I can lay out why I disagree with you.
You get to do it earlier in the show. It's okay. We got to go. We'll see you for a Friday sports wrap. Bye.